Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this opportunity to be gathered here today. We'd ask that Thy Spirit be with us throughout this meeting, and we're especially thankful to live in this wonderful area that we call home and where we work. We're thankful for the men and women that protect us in emergency services, law enforcement, and our military. Please bless them in their service, that they can be safe and that they can return home to their families this evening. Please bless us throughout this meeting, that we can make the best decisions for the other members of the county, and we would ask Thee to continue to bless us with moisture that we'll need for this coming year for our crops. And we're thankful for what we have and for the freedoms that we enjoy here in this land and in this area. And we say this in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla. Okay, one other item. Today, well, this week and Sunday, it's Law Enforcement Week. And so we especially wanted to thank those that serve and have served us in law enforcement. It's not an easy job, especially these days, and they do it, without thought. I mean, it's what they do. They're out there to serve and protect, and so we really appreciate them. I believe we have a couple of law enforcement folks here in the room. Can we recognize them?
Chief Deputy Paul.
Current and former. Do you mind standing up, you gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And what was Sheriff Potter saying yesterday? 2 years ago, we were in a
Crisis.
We were 800 officers down for the state. We just got new numbers, and we're 1,500 officers down for the state.
We're beyond crisis now.
We're double crisis, so whatever is above that, and I think it's just a sign of the times that too many people are not getting into that profession because of things. But, here in Box Elder County, we love them and appreciate them. And if they want to go into law enforcement, let us know, because we'll send them out west and they can drive around, look at the pretty scenery and make sure everybody's having a good time. And we're lucky that we do support officers here in this county and love them and appreciate them. So.
And please, when you do see somebody out there, local PD or Sheriff's Department, UHP, whatever agency they're with,
Yep.
Tell them hi, tell them thanks for their service. I try to go out of my way to do that because it means a lot to me. So,
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, do you have a chance to go through the minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the May 4th, 2022 minutes.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hadfield and a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any former items, any administrative review, future agenda items we need to look at?
I guess on former items,
Oh, here we go.
I've had a bunch of questions on the CAFO, things that we went through here a couple months ago. And then it came to our attention that Joel Ferry and Scott Sando were supposed to take the date off of that so we could be able to do some more research and get that done. And it's come to our attention that date never did come off. So there's only 4 counties in the state that actually passed anything on CAFOs. And so that means the rest of us are not in compliant. So hopefully we can get some more information.
And not in compliant
Not in
basically
compliant.
means that the state can dictate and decide where a CAFO goes and not the local jurisdictions, correct?
It's,
Not that I understand. It means, for now, it just means that we would fall back on our existing ordinance for
Okay.
now. And it means that there are some parts of it that we wouldn't be able to enforce because we didn't adopt a new
Okay.
Right.
ordinance. But hopefully we can depend on the old, and if we get the opportunity, we can make adjustments in the future.
and do you want to do future agenda items, maybe possibly? Or do you want me to talk about the pipeline?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you
This is pretty cool. So about 4 or 5 months ago, we were talking, Lee Perry and the commission were actually talking about, we had a pipeline that was going to go bankrupt going through Box Elder County.
Yeah,
And,
here's the notice right here.
a couple days later, Lee called us back and says, why don't we use that pipeline to pipe in salt water from the ocean to the Great Salt Lake? And we all just looked at each other and went, wow, that's a great idea. So we started talking to the governor's office and the water rights and everybody else. And if you look up in Newsweek, I think that's what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was,
Newsbreak.com. Utah lawmakers consider pipeline from Pacific Ocean to Great Salt Lake. So we just had a concern that the legislature passed $40 million to do a study on the Great Salt Lake. And I think we appreciate if that $40 million actually went to something that would actually make a difference. So if there's any way that we can use that existing pipeline to bring salt water back to the Great Salt Lake and fill it, I think that would be an amazing thing. And it's great that people reach out to us, and because believe me, we don't have all the ideas. And so when Lee brought that to us, we just like, man, what a great idea. So, and maybe hopefully someday they can put natural gas back through it and, do it. But until then, if we could fill that lake up, that'd help a lot. So I thought that was awesome.
Yep.
yeah, I'm on the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council, and that's one of the biggest concerns is not just economic issues that we could have with the lake levels dropping, but with the environmental impact. It's a terminal lake, and so all of the minerals, all the heavy metals, they flow into the lake and they sit there. And they've been undisturbed for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and with the declining lake level, the lake bed is exposed. And the dust and the climate stirs that up, and it's an issue. There's carcinogens in there. The dust and those heavy metals blow up onto the existing snowpack, and it melts substantially faster. And then we don't have the water that gets into our watershed and recharges our aquifers, fills our reservoirs. We don't get the lake effect from the larger mass on the lake. So it's an issue. And if we could do something like that, especially with some of the concerns of the rising levels of the ocean on the coast, it's kind of a win-win. So we'll see.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks, Commish. Okay, our 11:50 and our 12:07 agenda items are off for today. And our 11:48, we may push that one a little bit forward. We'll see. He was held up a little bit, but he will be here. So, let's begin 11:38. Heather Crockett.
Did you want to review the ARPA application?
Oh,
Oh,
we'll do it after her. I was going to say something, but
yeah, I'm skipping over ARPA and emergency
just pull that mic up
management.
to you and name and
Okay, so my name's Heather Crockett and I work at United Way of Northern Utah. I help to facilitate the Box Elder Early Childhood Coalition, which is a group of 18 organizations, both government and nonprofits, that are focused on getting kids ready to learn for kindergarten. Currently, with the Box Elder School District, only 50% of the kids going in can pass the kindergarten entrance exam, which is not a very good number. So we have been focused and working together on coming up with a literacy campaign of how we can get more books into the hands of kids and more families reading. One of the current problems that the county faces is that only those who live in Brigham City have access to the library. People who live in Willard, Perry, Honeyville, Corinne, Manaway, all those outlying areas have access to a bookmobile, but they can't check out books from the library. So those families have the choice of either going to the bookmobile that comes once every 2 weeks, and if you happen to be working at Tuesdays at 4 o'clock and can't make it to the bookmobile, then you don't get books. And so the other option that you have is to pay $60 to get a library card for your family. One of our ideas that we had was to increase the access of books to the library for low-income families. So if you qualified for WIC, which is 185% of the poverty level, or Help at the Food Pantry, which is also 185% of the poverty level, or free and reduced price lunch or anything like that, that you would be able to show that letter that you are qualified for those services and go to the library and get a library card for free. So I tried to figure out how many that is. There's varying ways to look at poverty rates, but from the data that I found, there are about 500 individuals in those outlying areas that could qualify for that. Currently in Brigham City, we have around 18,000 people, and there's about 6,000-ish that have a library card. So 1 in 3 that get the library cards. So if we looked at those numbers, because I don't think everybody who is low income would run to go get a library card, if we looked at just about a third, that's about 150, 160 different library cards that could be given out. I asked the library if they would give out those library cards to those individuals, and they said no, because it wasn't fair to the Brigham City low-income residents who had that built into their property taxes versus rent or whatever. So their idea was to come and talk to you. So if we were to give out library cards to low-income families in those outlying areas, it would be a cost of about $10,000 would be the cost of what we're guessing of who would qualify and ask for that. So
So I'm just going to let you know that since we have a bookmobile place now at the fairgrounds, they can come and get books there also if they're county residents, if they don't pay into it. So they don't actually have to wait for the bookmobile to come to them. They can actually go to that. It's actually a library now where they can pull in and check out books. And
but that's in Tremont, right?
well, yeah, it's in Tremont, which is closer to Honeyville and the outlying areas you were talking
But
about.
Perry and Willard, for example, that would mean you'd have to have transportation to get you up half an hour away and those kind of things. Just if a family's struggling for food, they're not going to be
Oh, I
able
know.
to get
That's
the
what I'm
books
just
in there.
saying.
And there's a really awesome study that was done by the University of Nevada that says that if we can get as few as 20 books in the home, it still has a significant impact on propelling a child to a higher level education of reading up to 3 years, just by simply having those books in the home.
So what does United Way say that they would do with some of the money that they take from Box Elder? Would they be willing to put $10,000 into this?
So one of the things that United Way is working on is we have built little free libraries. Have you heard of those before? They're just like a big birdhouse, and we have them in different locations. We currently have one out in Corinne that is being built. So we have provided all of the books that are being used inside that little library until it becomes self-sufficient. It usually takes about 2 years in order for it to become self-sufficient. And so we currently just built 10 little libraries that we're working to install and build. And they're built. We're looking for installations and caretakers, and we will provide the books that are necessary for that. So that's one thing that we're working on, but we also thought that library cards was a different way too, that families could be able to access more books.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I believe big time in reading. It's kind of a foundation for everything else. The issue that I would have is probably similar to what Brigham City said. We have our county residents that already pay taxes into the bookmobile, and so it's funded. And so I would rather talk with our bookmobile director and see if there's a way that maybe we could,
Stagger times or something to that effect?
yeah, either stagger times or,
Because I know they can
Different
call and they can actually
availability.
reserve books. And I don't know if we just need to have a drop-off someplace where they can actually drop off the books.
They do. They already have those things, but you know, if you're working Tuesday at 4 o'clock, you have no way of going to go get those books. You have no way. There's just a lot more women are in the workplace these days, and having the
I just have, I sit on the bookmobile board and we bend over backwards to make sure that it's accessible, to the school kids and to the people who want it. So I'll talk to Brad and see, and maybe have a confab with him that he can reach out to see how many people in that area, want that service or would take care of that service, and then we can cross our bridge from there.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
thanks, Heather.
I don't see
Let's
anything.
see. Yeah, Ben's not here yet.
You can talk about ARPA, or are you just gonna?
Yeah.
ARPA, we've had a couple of other applications that have come in. We haven't sat down and had a formal review process on that.
Because there's no money.
Yeah, we're waiting on the second tranche on that, and there's one that's already been funded and approved. Well, it's been approved, it hasn't been funded.
Did you see that one come in from Bragg for Veteran Services?
No. Brian asked about it, but I
Yeah, and I
haven't seen
said
the
I hadn't seen it
request.
either, so,
Yeah.
okay. There was another one come in for Veteran Services that would be interesting to see if that would qualify.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we probably ought to have that on the next one and actually formally review the last few that have come in. There's
Maybe
been a couple.
Maybe by then. I thought they said by 1st of June we should have that at next tranche.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was June or July. Nate or Charlene, have you heard on that?
When it's coming, I haven't seen any,
We've done the
we've done the paperwork and all, I mean, we've done the, so I don't know the date when it's coming, I haven't heard anything though. So
I have a hard time staying on those calls when the calls come through and we're supposed to be on there and listen. And I'm just like, I'd rather be poked in the eye with a sharp stick than listen to those calls for a while. So,
How do you really feel?
yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that next time, and we'll see if we've got any additional information and look at those, because there's been 2 or 3 that have come in, Chrissy, in the last couple weeks. Okay. All right, our PILT payment, we'll wait until Ben's here. 1150's gone. Marla?
Is this gonna mess you up?
No, just go to your tab. there.
Okay, I'm really grateful actually for the opportunity to talk a little bit about elections. Obviously, we all know that the confidence in elections has kind of gone down significantly across the nation, and it kind of does my mama bear heart a little bit of a, elections is kind of one of my cubs, and so when you see some things that aren't done right, you want to protect your cubs, and so I hope today that some of the questions that some of you might have will be answered and give you a little bit of ease that at least here in Box Elder County, your election administrators are very serious about taking your elections to the highest security level that they possibly can be. Let's see if I can reach this. So, first of all, like I just said, Box Elder County takes election integrity, security, and transparency very serious. I welcome any questions. In fact, I kind of like it. I might talk a little long about certain things because I do have a passion for it, but myself and my staff all take it very seriously. And then we follow the rules set by state statute. There are some things that some people don't think we should do, but we have to do because the state sets those. The legislature has put forth our rules and regulations, and we have to follow those guidelines. And we have processes and procedures in place to protect the citizens' votes. And I'll go through some of that today. And we conduct thorough audits, and we welcome any citizen to come and witness what we do. We publish in the paper, on our website, the dates and times that we do audits and testing of any equipment that we use. So recently I've received several questions from different people, and so I want to kind of go through some of these questions because they're probably the same questions everyone has. And we'll start with question number 1. How clean are our voting rolls? You honestly hear all the time, that dead people vote and that, people who aren't citizens vote and that kind of thing. But I'll kind of tell you, Box Elder County probably does it most the same way as anybody else in the state, but because we have a statewide database. And many states are very envious of this, that we have this statewide database, and we've had it for a lot of years. And it's overseen by the Lieutenant Governor's office. and then it's maintained by the clerks on an individual basis. So what that means is the state provides all the funding. They have their IT folks that has put this database together, but the clerks and their staff are the ones who go through and take out anyone who is deceased. The way we do that is through obituaries. We also get notification in just like a couple of days after somebody has died from vital statistics, and they're removed that way. And then also, you know, a lot of times the citizens themselves will, not the deceased ones obviously, but their families will call us and let us know that that person no longer should be on the voter rolls. Once in a while, you will hear of someone that has died that they have received a ballot in the mail. A lot of times, I've seen that that is the case because they died after we sent our list of people to our printer. And so the ballot would still be generated. But once you are registered in the state of Utah, you're given a particular voter ID number. If you move from Davis County to Box Elder County, that voter ID number stays the same. We just update the record. And every single voter that registers, we double check to make sure that there's not a duplicate within the state or within the county. And we do a random duplicate search about twice a year to make sure that there's not any in there. We do come up with a few duplicates once in a while if, say, a woman has got married and we have one in a maiden name or and then one in a married name. But we can search also by driver's license number and social security number now, and so that allows us to catch those as well. But before we approve any voter registration, our staff will verify their ID. And that's not physically looking at an ID, but we verify it through driver's license and the Social Security Administration. So those things have to be provided, either one or the other, for us to be able to verify a voter. The accuracy of the voter rolls are maintained daily. So the state death records come across our VISTA program. That's what the statewide database is. And then, like I said, we go through obituaries, driver's license records, post office records, and then we use the ERIC program. And I know there's been some concern about the ERIC program lately, but what ERIC is a sharing between states. So if you lived in Utah, you moved to Idaho or a participating state, that state would notify Utah that that person no longer should be a registered voter in their state. That way it helps to provide security that they can't vote in multiple states. So my next question, can a ballot be duplicated or counterfeited? And the way we make sure that this doesn't happen is we have to have special paper. We can't just make photocopies and run ballots through. They have to be on this special security type paper, and there's markings. If any of those markings are off a little bit, the scanner won't take it. And so if I take a ballot that we have generated downstairs that's a legitimate ballot, and then we photocopy it, my machine won't take it. Because when you copy something, it changes the size just a fraction. And so it kicks that out. So we use paper ballots for everything now, and we scan the bulk of them through what we call a DS450. And it's a big, pretty good size scanner, and we take a batch that we have processed and it just kind of shoots it through. If someone were to go to a polling location, we use what we call a DS200, and it kind of looks like a trash can. That's what we call it. But and so they're scanning at the polls, and then later the poll workers actually bring a memory stick back when the polls close. And there is a ballot marking device that is provided at our polling locations for those with visual disabilities. And it's just a ballot marking device. Nothing is saved. Nothing is, they just print out a little sheet of their votes, and then it is scanned in that same scanner at the polling location. None of this equipment is ever hooked to the internet. So the ability for someone to hack into any of our equipment is not there. Everything is physically put on, secured by memory sticks and seals. So if we come in to do some tabulation and see that our seal is broken, we would know that there has been a problem. We have video surveillance in our tabulation rooms. We have a log of every person that comes in and out of that room. The legislature just passed a law that requires us now to keep a log of any maintenance, even of who came in and did any kind of maintenance on the machines. This is the picture. You can see the DS450 there on the left, and then our big trash cans, which is the DS200, is the scanner used at a polling location. Okay, question number 4. Do you really verify every signature? What if the signatures don't match? And what do you do to verify signatures? Earlier, I spoke about our statewide voter registration database, the VISTA program. That is what we use to verify the signatures, and it can hold up to 5 different signatures. So we have pulled those signatures from driver's license. We've pulled them from former official registers when people have signed in at the polls. We have pulled it from their voter registrations. And if we had a change in a signature, say last election, maybe someone has aged or their signatures have changed a little bit, we will have, we'll capture that signature after we have confirmed that that was the person's signature. So the picture here is obviously my signature, which I can't show you anybody else's, but mine's all over the world. So you can see the little blue box, that's our VISTA program. So that's a signature that I had signed on some kind of document in the past. And then the envelope is on top. And so we teach our staff to look for certain things, angles, hoops and loops and hooks and pitch, and there's lots of different things that we have them look for to verify the signature. I'll tell you, we're not signature experts, but you can really kind of tell. And if there's any question at all, we send a letter to the voter asking them to come and verify that they're the ones who turned in the ballot, and that and then we can cure their ballot. We don't count it until it's been fixed.
What percentage of those actually happen, more out of an election?
So I'm going to go to 2020 because that's our big year. We had 30,000 people vote, and we probably sent out 600 to 800 cure letters, and we maybe had about 150 who did not cure their signature. That's kind of what you're looking for.
Yep. Out of 30,000.
Yeah. Okay. So back on that last one, the answer is yes, we do verify every single one. We have teams that work together, and they have a process where they go through and verify every signature, and it's put in a batch. Okay, let's talk about drop boxes. This is one of ours. It's the one that's out here behind the building, and it is on video surveillance 24/7. We don't open the drop boxes until about the day that ballots are mailed out, and that's 21 days before the election. And this year, every municipality will have a drop box. So every city office will have a place where someone can drop off their ballot during regular business hours. We have 5 locations right now that are 24/7, and they are all under video surveillance. Whenever we go to pick up ballots, there's always 2 people. And there is a log for them to sign the date, the time, and who it was who picked it up. And for the list of the drop boxes, you can always go to our website. That will be posted here in the next week. How do you keep my vote confidential and anonymous? Envelopes stay sealed until the check-in signature verification has taken place. So, and I welcome anybody to come and watch how we do this. I mean, it's kind of a neat process. But they are put in these boxes, and we usually batch in about 200. And the staff that we have checks them in with a little scanner, and then after that they can go through and verify each envelope. The envelopes are not opened at that time. And then there's another team that takes the envelopes and opens them and removes the ballots. And we always work in teams. This way, no one can say, oh, this is so-and-so's, I want to see how they vote. It's just not done that way. It's kept very private. So they work in teams to remove the ballots. Ballots are then removed from the envelopes and put into batches. Once that ballot is removed, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, can you retrieve my ballot and tell me who I voted for? We can't. It is intermingled with everyone else's. There is no way, there's no identifiers on a ballot. And so the batch is just in there. There's no way to pull out a certain individual one. And then question 7, why do we have early voting, and does it facilitate early evaluation of cast ballots? Early voting started, oh, I can't even tell you. It was back in early 2000s when we started early voting, and we used to do it for about 2 weeks. We now do it for 4 days here at the courthouse and 2 days out in Tremont. And it's basically for the convenience of the voters. So if a person can't be available on election day, they have some other opportunities to cast their vote. And it really used to help eliminate the lines on election day. Sometimes early voting lines got longer than election day lines, but it really changed how long you had to wait on election day. But no results are ever pulled from the early voting. We do not insert a memory stick or anything until the polls close on election day. Early voting is one of the things that's released first, and ballots that we've already processed are released first shortly after 8 p.m. after the polls have closed. So I don't see any way. I never know who has got the most votes in early voting, and neither does any of my staff, because none of that is uploaded until after the polls have closed. And then, is there same-day registration? And yes, there is. That's only been the last few years. Someone can register to vote and vote on the same day. How this is done by provisional ballot. What a provisional ballot is a ballot that is held until our office is able to evaluate if that person was eligible to vote. And so they fill out a form. The ballot is put inside the envelope that the form is on. And then once we have verified that their identification and everything is valid, then we can count that ballot.
And party affiliation within a certain period.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So like this coming up primary is a closed Republican primary. So in order for them to be able to vote in this election, they either have to be affiliated with the Republican Party or unaffiliated can affiliate that day. If they register that day, then their ballot is held until we have verified who they are, that they're legitimate, and that then we can count their vote. And they must provide at that time proof of identification and proof of residency. How do you keep people from voting more than once? So our VISTA program that I was talking about, our statewide database, is real time. So if we check in someone's ballot that has sent in a paper ballot through the mail or dropped in a drop box, it will instantly mark it on that voter's record as in their vote history. So if then they go to early voting or to a polling location, a little memo or little pop-up comes up to warn the poll worker that they have already voted. At that point, if they have a problem, then we have them vote a provisional ballot, which again is held until we can verify that they had already cast a ballot. We can check and make sure that everything, is legitimate. Same way if they send in 2 ballots in the mail. The first one that comes is going to be marked on their voter record and history, and the other one won't be counted. And a letter will be generated letting them know that they can't vote twice. So, and if we see a persistent thing, we put little notes in this database also. If we see something that the same person tries to do some things like this over and over, then at that point, prosecution would come into play. And then, has your staff been vetted and background checks conducted? So I don't have a big staff. I have 2.5 employees in my office, but we hire a lot of temporary people, and usually we use the same people because we already know that they've been trained and they know what to do. But yes, every single one of them has to go through a background check, and they are vetted before they are hired to work with elections. And they are supervised. They're never left just to be there on their own. Okay, this is kind of confusing on some people. People don't know exactly how it works, but who makes the rules? The state legislature makes the rules, and that define how elections are conducted in our state. Now, the lieutenant governor is the chief election officer for the state. All the county clerks work with the lieutenant governor, and they give us guidance, and we work with them also to create good legislation, that they have folks that go and try to help us make sure that we're not doing some things that are bad. Because no offense to any former legislator in this room, but sometimes they don't get it. Sorry, Lee. Sometimes they don't understand how hard it is to administrate an election when they give us some wacky legislation. So we work really hard together as clerks within the state and with the lieutenant governor's office to make good legislation. And then the county clerk implements the elections, and we make our own policies and procedures for staff and the way that we want to process the ballots to make it a successful election. Ballot processing is basically a 2-part process. We verify and we tabulate. Verification doesn't just start when we receive a ballot. Verification starts when we receive a registration. So every registration, like I said earlier, they have to give us required either driver's license or the last 4 of their social security number so that we can verify that they're truly who they are. And we maintain up to 5 signatures on file. Return ballots are checked in, and they're verified that they have not voted in any other way and that they have not or submitted a ballot. Ballot affidavits are verified against signatures on file. Any unverifiable registration is rejected. We send it back to the individual who's tried to register, and they need to fix it before we can accept it and get them registered. And then any unverifiable signature or ballot envelopes that come with no signature is rejected. And what we send out is what we call a cure letter. And it has to, they have so much time to be able to get that fixed. There's a few different ways that they can fix it. They come in person, they mail back this affidavit. a couple of years ago, we used what we called a text to cure, where they are given a special code to be able to notify us who they are and send their verification back, and that will be used now in the upcoming elections as well. And they have to fix that before the day of canvass. So anything that is not cured before canvass can't be counted. Okay, let's talk tabulation. We basically, when the ballots come in, we put them in batches after they've been verified, and then they're ready to run through that big 450 scanner. That 450 scanner is pretty amazing, actually. We used to have to hand feed every single ballot in like this, and now you can kind of stack it, and it gives us a count so we know that none got stuck together or anything like that. And so it has to be verified with the hand count that our staff has done. And then we run the ballots through that scanner, and then we upload the results from the DS200 from the polling locations. And then we do what we call adjudication. And that is, if there's a write-in candidate, the 450 kicks it out and kind of stores it in a different file. And so those are held until after we have uploaded the results, and we have to go in and physically mark if that candidate is eligible as a write-in. So in the state of Utah, you can't just write in like Captain Underpants and it count. They have to have filed. Now, if Captain Underpants comes in and filed, then that's a different story. But they have to be a declared write-in, and they have had to have registered. So with adjudication, you also go through and you make a determination whether or not a mark on the ballot is a vote or not. So sometimes people will just rest their pen, and that'll give like an unclear mark, and the scanner picks that up, kicks it out, so we have to review that later. Or if you overvote, if you mark 2 bubbles and you're only supposed to have 1, then it'll kick that out and you review it. If you put a line through it, if it has any kind of detection of a mark, it will kick it out. This is kind of an example on there. The bottom gives you some ballot ideas of how an overmark or something that would go in to be adjudicated. But Utah code states when questions arise concerning how a vote was recorded, 2 election judges must jointly review the ballot. Full consideration must be given to the intent of the voter. Sometimes you can't tell what the intent is, and then that race just doesn't get counted. You don't mark it as counted. But there is an audit trail of anything like that that we have to adjudicate or change. And so if there was any question, excuse me, we could go back to that, and it would tell exactly what the staff or the person doing the adjudication did. And voter intent, that sometimes it's hard to know because you don't really know what the person was thinking. But we follow the state adjudication manual, and we review the image of the entire ballot and an audit report of how the ballot was read. Questionable marks are highlighted. Only the highlighted marks can be adjudicated. Okay, our equipment goes through extensive logic and accuracy. We do it before the election, during the election, and post-election. We always publish for a public test as well, where we invite the public to come. And honestly, I really invite each of you to come and watch how it is done. Then you kind of understand how the process works. And an audit of the election is conducted prior to the canvass. The audit is random, so I never know exactly what we're going to have to audit. What we send is the number of batches that we have. That, like earlier I had said that the boxes contain about 200 ballots in them. We number those batches, and we send that number to the Lieutenant Governor's office the day after election. And then it's randomized. It's completely, sometimes we have to do 4 boxes, sometimes we have to do 7. And it's not by precinct, it's not by dates that ballots came in, it's just random batches. And so when we do that audit, we have to go back through and check every single signature. And we also have to recount the same ballots to make sure we came up with the same numbers. And then we send that off also to the Lieutenant Governor's office. And when I present the canvas to the commissioners, I present that audit to them as well. And the audit is completely open to the public. Sometimes it takes an hour to 2 hours, and sometimes it takes multiple days depending on how long, how many batches we have to do. So that's kind of just a little bit in a nutshell. I could go on and on about elections because it is my passion and it is my life. I eat, breathe, sleep, whatever, elections. But I encourage all the citizens to come in and participate and watch. If you're feeling uneasy about anything, please ask me. I'll try to explain the best that I can. We are human. Sometimes we might get a little goofy in our words and different things, but I have to give kudos to a wonderful staff who takes it as serious as I do, and that really take every citizen's vote seriously. And we work really, really hard to make sure that it is a safe and secure election every time.
So when do you start hiring poll workers? Now?
Yeah. Right now, for the primary, we're pretty much got our folks. We probably may need more for November, but
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can find that on the website also, right?
Right, there's an there
Should
used to
be.
be an application. Our new website dropped a few of our things, so, but if there's not an application on there, you can always call me. I'll email you one or whatever, but.
Okay. That's great information.
But anytime you want to observe, all of our information will be on the website too, so that you can see when things are and whatever. Do you guys have any questions, commissioners?
I appreciate your guys' work. You've got a great staff, and I know that you guys do take it serious, and it's not an easy job. So I appreciate your time and effort. You spend a lot of hours,
Thank you.
long hours.
No, thanks for putting that together. It's great answers to a lot of frequently asked questions, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Just going back up the agenda, I believe, did I see Ben come in?
Yep. He's in
There
the
he
corner.
is.
Just like in church, back row.
Thanks for being here, sir. We know who you are, but if you'll state the name for the record.
You betcha. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Ben Nadolski. I'm the regional supervisor for the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources here in northern Utah. And for the record, I'm not even sure I'm invited back to church. I would take the back row in a heartbeat.
Yep.
My apologies for being late.
You're good.
Yeah,
We're still here.
I'll just blame Captain Underpants on that one, if you'll allow me. So, you guys, as you know, I'm here today to present to you our payment in lieu of taxes check. I have a check for you for the amount of $11,049.89. This is a payment in lieu of taxes for the property that we own in your county. This is a check that we disperse to every county in the state where we own property. And these funds come largely from the proceeds provided by Utah's hunters and anglers through the proceeds developed through the sale of licenses and permits. So if, Mr. Chair, I'll just hand that to you, if that's okay.
Awesome.
I do have one other small bit of business while I'm here, if
You
it's
bet.
okay.
Absolutely.
It's related to the annual PILT payment. So providing you guys with that check is a statutory requirement established in code. And one other requirement is that we have an agreement in place with each of the counties. So we do kind of routine reviews to make sure we've got that type of agreement in place, and where they're out of date, we update them. And so this year, Box Elder County is in need of an updated agreement. So I brought a copy of the agreement.
Okay.
It's quite basic. Gives you every opportunity to get out of the agreement if you so wish. But if you need time to review that, I brought a self-addressed envelope as
We're gonna
well.
have to send it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
I know.
great.
I assume you have a review process internally, so so there's an envelope to make it easier for whoever it is that needs to do that review.
Looks like it already
All
got to her.
eyes, all eyes on Annie.
Stuff flows downhill rather quickly here.
Annie does a phenomenal job reviewing those, and so I'm assuming it's not necessarily boilerplate, but specific to us, but very similar to prior years, so.
Yeah, it's pretty dang close to boilerplate.
What's Box Elders? I mean, because like when we talk about PILT payments from the national, you know, we're like number 2. So when it comes to state PILT payments, where are we compared to the rest of the state?
I don't know the rest of the state, but you're pretty high in the northern part of the state, that's for sure.
That's what I was just gonna say. Okay.
You might be the highest in northern Utah.
You guys don't have a weird thing about too many people and all the stuff that happens with a national PILT payment, so it's pretty straightforward.
It is.
So,
There's a rate that's established. It's in
Right.
the agreement too that all the counties pay. You know, we're obviously.
can you get the
happy
nation to
that.
go to that?
I don't have that much pull. It sounds like your staff does, though.
Worth a shot. Worth a shot.
Worth a shot.
Yeah. Happy to answer any questions. If you guys have any questions or concerns that related to the Division of Wildlife.
We love having you guys here. You know, we got a lot of stuff happening here in Box Elder, you know, whether it's hunting, fishing, you know, all that type of stuff. So we appreciate you guys taking care of all those things.
Amen.
Yeah, appreciate your work.
A
I'll
little
thank,
bit more water in our waterways. Other than that, we're good.
I'll see what I could do.
Okay.
I just want to thank you guys, not only for your partnership, but for all the work that you guys do. We have quite a few employees that live in your county, and there's some really happy families in this county
Good.
and amongst my
good
ranks.
to
So,
hear.
That's what we like to hear.
yeah, thank you for that. You guys are doing top-notch work.
It's good to
Thanks,
hear.
Ben.
Thank
you,
Good to see
sir.
you again.
Appreciate your flexibility today.
Hey, no problem. No problem.
See you.
Safe travels. Okay, let's see, 11:50, Marla. Oh, here we go. So, last evening, there was a special meeting that was held by the Box Elder County Central Committee for the Republican Party. When Tom Cotter, our county auditor, resigned, it triggered the need for an appointment. It's not necessarily silent in state code how that takes place, but they do give some autonomy to the local party. Typically, that's done by election by the State Central Committee, which is made up of the executive committee, elected officials that are affiliated with the Republican Party, and chairs and precinct vice chairs throughout the county. It's about 100 to 105 people. And so there was a meeting held last night. There was a quorum in attendance. There was only one individual that submitted their name for this, exceptionally qualified, a lot of experience in accounting and in the county, and the name was approved unanimously. And so, Shirlene Larson, and grateful for her service. She's been here in the auditor's office for 12 years now, 10 years. Does an exceptional job. Appreciate Nate. Nate has been the deputy auditor and stepped in for, he could probably tell us how many days at this point.
It's all one.
Yeah. So they've been busy folks, and we really appreciate their service and keeping us in the black and keeping track of all of the debits and credits. So at this time, we need to ratify the decision that was made by the Central Committee for the county.
I'll make a motion that we approve Shirlene as the new auditor for the Republican Party for Box Elder County. Larson, yeah, sorry.
Second.
Okay, let me clarify. So our new auditor
Is,
through the remainder of this year.
yes.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Summers, a second by Commissioner Hadfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Congratulations, condolences.
Yep, congratulations, Charlene.
Thank you. It was a good meeting, so. Okay, very good. Mr. Lyons. Oh, Nate, Charlene, before you leave, before we go into our closed session, I do have a check for one of you, so we'll make sure we get that to you.
My first item is the 11600 West Subdivision. This is located at 9530 North, 11600 West, also known as Highway 102. It is a two-lot subdivision. Each lot contains 1.01 acres, and it has been reviewed and approved by all applicable departments and comes with recommendation of approval.
Sounds like I'm getting some neighbors.
A little bit south of you, but yeah,
Yeah,
that area is kind of
102.
starting to see some interest, so.
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 11600 West subdivision.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hadfield and a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Darren, just make sure that that's not in that floodplain. The one we've been talking about. Okay.
Let's see, so 1207, that one's getting pushed to the next meeting, 1209. So usually when we bring a corridor preservation request to you, it has been through a pretty thorough vetting process by the COG, the Council of Governments, which consists of all the mayors in the county.
And me, when I get there.
Correct. And so this one went to the COG last spring. The application, let's see, it was submitted February 25th, 2021. The COG met they would have met in April. And so on this application, the application, based on what was submitted to the COG, there's a minimum point like evaluation that needs to be hit in order to be funded. And the way the fund is set up, if you're a big city, you need to hit 25 minimum points. If you're small, then you need to hit 15 minimum points. Garland is classified as a small, and their application, based on what was stated in the application, they hit that 15 minimum right on the button. There was some information in their application that was not 100% clear. For example, 2 points for how a project enhances safety, 3 points for how a project enhances connectivity, and then points related to growth numbers. So when the COG approved this application, they essentially approved it based on what was included in the application. Now, to complicate things a little bit further, the estimated project cost at the time was just over $1 million. And the fund that they would pull money from for this type of project, there was, let's see, $292,690 in it. So the COG approved, based on them hitting the minimum points as stated in their application, the COG approved the full amount that was in that fund of $292,690, with the stipulation that they provided an explanation of how the project enhances safety, how it enhances connectivity, data backing the 6% growth rate, as well as an updated project scope that comes in into that $292,690 budget. So Garland's engineer went to work. They have provided, I sent that with the agenda item request. They've provided an explanation of how it enhances safety, how it enhances connectivity, data backing the 6% growth rate, and an updated project cost estimate. Their updated cost estimate comes out to $390,100. So $97,410 over what the COG approved. My understanding, based on speaking with the engineer, is that Garland would be responsible for that portion of the project. which originally Garland wasn't planning on contributing to the project, so that actually
Helps the points.
ups the points by 4 points.
Yep.
So,
So the only question that I was thinking of, so most of the times when they come in like this, we already have an agreement in place with a city or a municipality to be able to say that they do have those funds available before we actually fund something. So if we fund this, I think you should probably make a motion pending the adjudication from Garland to be able to come up with the rest of the money.
yeah, correct. Historically, we've had something from the mayor or the city council stating that they are, that they've agreed to provide those funds to fulfill the project or their portion of the project. So anyway, with all of that said, I don't know if you have questions for me, or Garland's engineer is here as well if you have questions for him. But that's kind of how this one has played out, you know, more complex than we usually see.
I actually like the project. If you've ever been on West Factory, you know the things need some TLC, to say the least. But then I'm also going to get on my soapbox for a minute and realize that we've only had this for 6 years now, Corridor Preservation Fund.
Yeah, probably about 6-7 years.
So when this was originally enacted, back in the day, if the commission at that time would have actually enacted a COG, we had $2 million in matching funds. So because of that plain fact that that never enacted, we lost $2 million in funds back in that day. So, which would have went a long ways in doing some of these improvements. So I think it's fair to say that, you know, at least we're looking at what we're trying to do and continuing to go do that way. There's another thing that came up when we were talking about some of these things, that there was a road fund that the state took 5% of our B&C roads funds for the Olympics. And it was 10 years before the Olympics. Well, nobody looked at it, and there was never a sunset in that. And we ended up paying the state another 20 years after the Olympics was over. So, and that came to us, and we actually had to run legislation to be able to get our money back. They owed us about $11.9 million, and we only got 1.3. So, you know, we're actually doing our jobs just because we don't put it out there. We actually get on top of things, and it's cost the citizens of Box Elder County millions of dollars for people not being aware of what's going on. So just letting you know. Thanks, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the update on this, this project and how it works. So, any other questions?
No.
I think it's a worthy project.
Okay.
So,
And with that, those other 4 points, I think that actually puts them over the top. So that makes me feel better about that too. So
no.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Garland City Corridor Preservation Fund request pending Garland City's ability to pay the difference.
Oh. Yeah, if you want to come up here and you got to say your name. I know who you are, but everybody else might not.
My name's Todd Freeman. I'm the city engineer for Garland.
Do that again in the microphone.
My name is Todd Freeman.
There you
I'm
go.
the city engineer for Garland. With the cost estimate, it's $390,000 approximately, 100,000 over, 90,000 over. You'll see the cost estimates broke down into 3 different schedules, Schedule A, B, and C. A is the pipeline, the storm drain line. B is the north side of the roadway, widening it, putting in curb and gutter, along with, there's 2 subdivisions, as you may have noted, that are brand new, that are going to be going in within this next year. One's right now in the process. Schedule C is for putting a little bit more asphalt on the south side, but that's a little bit more beaten up, so we have a little bit more improvements to be done. The cost a little bit higher per square foot as opposed to the north side. If the Garland does not have the capacity to put in the additional money right now, we could just do Schedule A and B, and that brings it down to like $292,000 with maybe some change for contingencies. Part of the understanding is, you may know, that the mayor's changed for Garland, and the public works director is being replaced right now. So the funds right now, we're just trying to figure out. I haven't talked to them about their funds and their budget right now, but I told the mayor that there'd be a little bit more.
Well, and our funds are capped for these kind of programs too. So that,
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to do it in a 2-phase thing
Yeah.
and come into a, you know, for next year and just do the first phase, I mean, I'd like to see them do it all at once, but it makes more sense. But if they want to come back and, do the second phase portion of it or something, that's up to them.
Okay. Yeah, and you've seen the scope is changed. It was the full length,
Right.
about 2,200, 2,400 is about 50% of that.
Yeah.
But it gets a good portion of it. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that you knew, as we move forward, if that last portion of the funds doesn't come from Garland right away, then we just do at least 2 of the phases.
You'll just go
Yeah.
back and tell them what we said, right?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
We'll just
I'll
fund.
definitely relay
We'll
it.
just fund what we can fund.
Yeah, we fund what we can fund, and you do what you can do with that funding.
Yeah.
Perfect, that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, appreciate it, Commissioners.
Okay.
all right, very good. We have a motion by Commissioner Hadfield.
I'll
a
second.
By Commissioner Summers. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Scott,
Okay,
thanks for that.
thank you. You bet.
Yeah. Did you see that text I sent you? And?
Go look it up.
Do you want to go look? On the 26th.
Wrestle for who's next.
26th. What day is that?
It says Thursday, or May 26th. I've got somebody else who would go in with us too if you want.
I'm an attorney.
We'll see.
Somebody that's got equipment, money, and
Three's your crowd, isn't it?
not when you read money. Look at it, let me know.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Didn't say anything about the second well though. Only said a shared well.
Thanks, Scott.
2 wells,
Oh, yeah.
but it doesn't say anything about the second one.
I needed one earlier.
It's my second one today already.
Darren.
Good afternoon. This is
What's your name?
Darren McFarland,
Who do you work for?
Roads Department. I come before you today to discuss renewing of a water contract. Out west, we have a hard time finding water. This is an existing contract that had expired, and so we asked we could renew this so we could utilize water source for our road construction projects, currently for brining the roads out west.
Same provisions, any change in the rate or anything, or?
There's a slight change in the rate. We've tried to, as we renew these with Annie's help, we're trying to make the rate the same across the board. So there's 2 different rates. One rate is for gravity fed, or water sources that have the elevation for and head for pressure. The other is a higher rate for those that have to run, operate, and maintain pumps. So those folks that we use, get water from that have pumps, we pay them a higher rate to compensate them for that.
Okay.
Cool. So you looked at it all?
No, this is great. It saves the county a tremendous amount of money in fuel and personnel and road time, so, okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the water purchase agreement 1222-13. Sorry, I already drew through it.
Second?
I have a motion by Commissioner Summers and a second by Commissioner Hadfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Okay.
Darren.
Thanks, sir.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Darren.
Jenica.
Okay, so I have,
Have you got something for us to sign?
yeah. Do you
Can I
want
have
that
it?
right now?
Can I please?
Here you go. Okay. So I have a contract from Utah Retirement Systems that I've received. We currently pay for disability and workers' compensation benefits for our Tier 1 public safety employees, but we do not for Tier 2. And so they are asking us to decide if we would like to cover that or not. And my recommendation at this time is that you do cover those employees the same as Tier 1.
Anything we can do within our means, right?
Right. There really is no cost to it unless there's a claim, so
Okay.
I just need authorization from you for me to be able to sign the contract.
Any questions?
No.
About how many incidents do we see on that per year? I know they've been pretty slim in the past.
Yeah, Tier 1 and 2 total, I've maybe seen 2 in my 15 years,
Okay.
maybe 3.
I mean, I thought it was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
So, no, we've been really fortunate with good employees and low numbers. So, okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the benefits protection contract 22-14.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hadfield and a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. One more item.
We have to go into closed session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got an
That's
RDA
right.
too.
I'll make
Do you think we can just remove that one for now? Okay, we'll talk about it first.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
go into a closed session to talk about,
Do we want to do the
Oh,
RDA first?
it's
Yeah,
up to you.
Yeah, let's do the RDA, and then we'll go into that, and then we
Okay.
can
I'll
finish
make a
out.
motion, we go into an RDA.
second. Well, then I guess I won't pull it up.
That's why I kept asking, because
Okay,
I didn't have a,
I've got it on my computer.
Yeah, I've
we
got
can do it
an
on a
agenda
computer.
here, so.
It's only a
We're good.
one thing.
Yeah. So we're good.
Okay,
It's okay.
No worries.
Do we have minutes?
we do. From April 6th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from April 6th.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Summers and a second by Commissioner Hadfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we've got a CDA, confidential disclosure agreement. Just looking through this, it is just exactly that. It's a CDA between the county and,
Can't remember.
does anybody want to cover this?
Yeah, we had a company a couple months ago come to us with a company that wants to expand inside of Box Elder County, one of our companies that's here. So they go through a second form of company to do all this stuff. They want a CDA. I have no idea why, because we all know who they are, where they're at. So they're making us go through this, jump through this hoop to sign a confidentiality agreement. So
Just in case.
just in case.
All right.
Okay.
So
I'll make a motion, we approve the confidential disclosure agreement 22-02.
second.
Okay, and basically what this does is, this is just to protect them. It's typically for real estate. Sometimes they get a little bit hung up on real estate and those kinds of things, so. All right, have a motion by Commissioner Hadfield, a second by Commissioner Summers. All in favor?
Aye.
Have you got a copy of that I can sign? Do you know?
It's got you listed on it.
Well,
I do.
that's because I was trying to get Steve to just let me sign it for the RDA, but he wouldn't let me, so. How did Mitch get away with signing those?
I think it's different if it's, I think it's different if it's the individual that is talking to them about a project and when it actually gets into negotiating.
Oh,
So I think some of it's info and then some of it's actually,
Expo.
yeah, there you go. So,
It's okay.
okay,
Got her
I'd entertain another motion. I guess, do we have that CDA? Okay,
to Sign it during it. And you'll send it back and make sure that it's sent back. Marla?
I don't know who it goes to, so whoever put it on the agenda probably ought to send it back.
I didn't put it on the agenda. You know better than that. Send it to me and Stuart. Send it to me and Stuart.
You did, you just didn't realize it.
Yeah, as long as it's got my signature on it, shouldn't matter, unless they want the real one, which I can't imagine.
I just signed it.
Okay.
It should be the chair.
Scan it and, yeah, it's me and Stuart. please.
What's the technical title on the RDA?
You're still chairman.
Oh, good.
If it was Dan, just member.
I was just wondering about how come you didn't put my signature as one of those things, because my signature's all over the place all the time.
I'd recognize yours, though.
All right. I guess I'd entertain another motion.
Make a motion, we go out of our RDA.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a motion, we go into a closed session to discuss real estate and personnel.
Second.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a motion by Commissioner Summers, a second by Commissioner Hadfield. Oh, need a couple more signatures here.
Oh. Is Gina, you waiting for us too?
Unofficially, I guess after.
I missed one.
Want some money?
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Nate.
Okay, are we talking personnel first?
Probably.
Which one are we doing first?
Personnel, I guess.
Mine?
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.